It was a quiet Tuesday night when I finally returned to my small college house after a grueling day of classes and studying. The place wasn't much an old two-story home with creaky floors, thin walls, and a small backyard that no one ever used. I shared it with my roommate Sam, whom I'd met the year before in the dorms. Sam was easygoing, a perfect fit for cohabitation, and despite our different schedules, we got along well. That evening, though, the house felt emptier than usual. Sam had told me earlier in the day that he'd be spending the night at the library working on a group project. With the house to myself, I looked forward to a peaceful night of gaming. After a quick dinner, I grabbed my headset, booted up my console, and settled into my usual spot in the corner of my bedroom. Hours slipped by as I immersed myself in the world of online battles. The clock on my desk showed it was nearly 11 p.m. when I decided to take a short break. I took off my headset and stretched, the silence of the house suddenly becoming apparent. The faint creaks and groans of the old structure seemed louder than usual. Dismissing it as my imagination, I grabbed a soda from the fridge and returned to my room. As I played, a sound caught my attention: soft rhythmic knocking. It wasn't loud, but it was distinct enough to pierce through the sound of my game. Pausing, I removed my headset and listened intently. The knocking continued, coming from somewhere downstairs. My first thought was that Sam had come back early, maybe forgetting his keys. But when I checked my phone, there were no missed messages or calls from him. Curiosity got the better of me. I crept down the narrow staircase, each step groaning under my weight. The knocking grew louder as I reached the bottom, leading me toward the front door. The hallway was dimly lit by the single bulb in the overhead fixture, and the shadows cast by the banister seemed to stretch unnaturally. Peering through the peephole, I saw nothing. The porch was empty. I unlocked the door and opened it a crack, expecting to find some prankster or maybe even the wind knocking a loose branch against the frame. But there was no one there. The cold night air rushed in, sending a shiver down my spine. As I closed the door, the knocking resumed. But this time, it wasn't coming from the front door. It sounded like it was coming from the back of the house. A sense of unease began to creep in. I walked cautiously to the kitchen, where the back door led out to the small fenced yard. The knocking was louder now, deliberate and steady. My heart pounded as I flipped the light switch. The backyard was illuminated, but nothing seemed out of place. I approached the door, peering through the glass. Again, no one was there. Feeling a mixture of irritation and nervousness, I double-checked the lock and turned to head back upstairs. That's when I heard a faint creak from the living room, like the sound of weight shifting on an old wooden floor. "Sam?" I called out, my voice breaking the silence. No response. The living room was shrouded in darkness. Slowly, I reached for the light switch, the hairs on the back of my neck standing on end. The room was empty. The furniture was as I'd left it, the faint outline of the couch and coffee table barely visible in the dim glow from the streetlights outside. But something felt wrong. The air was heavier, suffused with a sense of foreboding. Convincing myself it was just the house settling, I hurried back to my room and locked the door. I told myself I was being paranoid. Maybe the long day and hours of gaming were playing tricks on my mind. But as I settled back into my chair, I heard it again. This time, it was unmistakable. Footsteps. They were faint but deliberate, coming from downstairs. Someone was in the house. I froze, my mind racing. Had I forgotten to lock the front door earlier? Or the back? Grabbing my phone, I texted Sam. "Hey, did you come back home? Thought you were staying at the library." My hands trembled as I sent the message. A few agonizing minutes passed with no response. The footsteps grew louder, moving closer to the staircase. I pressed my ear to the door, holding my breath. Whoever it was, they were coming upstairs. The creaking steps sounded painfully loud in the stillness of the house. My phone vibrated, and I nearly jumped out of my skin. It was a text from Sam. "Still at the library. Why?" My stomach dropped. Whoever was in the house, it wasn't Sam. Panicking, I typed back, "I think someone's in the house." Sam's reply came almost instantly. "Call the cops. I am on my way." I dialed 911, my voice barely a whisper as I explained the situation to the dispatcher. They assured me that officers were on their way, but it would take a few minutes. Minutes that felt like an eternity. The footsteps reached the top of the stairs. My heart pounded as I grabbed the heaviest object within reach, a lamp from my bedside table. The doorknob rattled. Whoever it was, they were trying to get in. "I've called the police," I shouted, hoping to scare them off. The rattling stopped, and for a brief moment, there was silence. Then, the footsteps retreated down the hall. I didn't dare open the door. I listened intently as the sounds moved back downstairs. A door slammed to the back door, I guessed. Moments later, red and blue lights flashed outside my window, signaling the arrival of the police. The officers searched the house thoroughly but found no one. The back door had been left ajar, its lock tampered with. They assured me they'd patrol the area and suggested I stay elsewhere for the night. Sam arrived shortly after, visibly shaken but relieved that I was safe. Over the next few days, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease. I changed the locks, added security cameras, and even bought a bat to keep by my bedside. But the mystery lingered. Who had been in the house? And what were they looking for? Weeks later, I got my answer in the most chilling way. Reviewing footage from one of the security cameras I'd installed, I saw a figure in the backyard at night, staring up at my window. They didn't try to break in or approach the house. They just stood there, watching. The police were called again, but the figure was gone by the time they arrived. To this day, I don't know who it was or why they were there. But every creak, every shadow keeps me on edge, a constant reminder that some mysteries are better left unsolved.